recording.
Give me a couple minutes. You guys can start getting into a lobby, though. Oh, I don't want to fucking pickpocket a master farmer.
Why not? Seems like you get some pretty good vegetables.
Just saying the graphics looks kind of good on this game too. Looks pretty good.
Oh, Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's not.
Get the good old polygons.
Mine fucking died. Can I not record this? Is that what's happening? Is it like you don't fucking have good internet? Fuck.
They're like, you don't have facilities for this big man.
Fucking god, dude. Like you need to.
Yeah, I gotta switch all my stuff over, so give me a minute.
Oh, you know
I don't
what?
know how
to be honest,
make a thing or how to make a lobby. So,
hello, welcome back. It's been a little bit of a hot minute. I want to talk about today Monster Hunter Wilds, the Monster Hunter Wilds beta that happened a few weekends ago. But I feel like I need to preface this with a few things. First off, I was fairly sick during the entire weekend that Wilds was out, so that kind of affected how much I was able to play. Also, recently got a new job, so I've been trying to get, my scheduling a little bit better. It's not been wonderful. It's not been easy to set up a schedule. Work's been fine, but doing this is, something that I try to do when I have the energy to do it. And I don't have the energy all the time, and I don't have the time all the time. Those are two really rough things, especially because I was sick during that entire weekend. So I just wanted to start it with that because I feel like it's important to kind of let you guys know why things might take a while. I'm starting this with just a bunch of preface, discussion, talking about certain things that, just to make sure we're on the same page starting out, and that you kind of understand why it's taken me a little bit longer to do this. But, I wanted to give my thoughts about it still, regardless of how long or how early I get it out. Now, getting into Monster Hunter Wilds, how good was it? How good was the beta? Well, much to my not surprise once I started looking at stuff, and even though my big thing, if you look at the minimum requirements, the recommended requirements, looking at them, my CPU is an Intel i7 7700K, which does not benchmark as well as the minimum spec CPUs. So I have a CPU that isn't strong enough to play the game. So that's another thing that I need to start this out with and kind of discuss, because it very much showed. So obviously one thing leading up to the next, when the game comes out, or another beta, if they do that, I don't think they will though. The next beta, I feel, then when the game launches, I need to make sure I get a better CPU or graphics card. Not certain. Some people have told me it's a graphics card. I think it could just be a CPU issue, but I digress a little bit. So to state all this, I didn't have quite the graphical issues that everybody else was tending to have while playing the game, where everything was very polygonal and very just not looking good at all. It was at least somewhat reasonable to understand, and I got to experience everything for the most part. I was going to stream it, however, even when trying to record, I could not open the game. If I opened up my recording software, I'm not certain if it just took too much out of my system. It wouldn't launch the game. So I don't have any recordings for it, sadly. And probably should put this at the beginning of the video, but at this point, I've already started a good bit, so I can't really go back. I got to experience everything in the beta, even though I was extremely sick all weekend. The times where I didn't feel sick the entire weekend that Monster Hunter Wilds was out was literally the times I was playing Monster Hunter Wilds. It is something that on a computer that I capped it at 30 FPS, I'm fairly certain, I would still get frame dips to 15 FPS. But that's, again, you know, I have a PC that's not really strong enough to run it. So that's more on me than them. And I understand there's optimization issues that Capcom has many a times. You know, Dragon's Dogma 2 had poor optimization. You know, there's been a lot of, whenever they have launched Monster Hunter games, or maybe not so much DLC, but when they launch Monster Hunter games on PC, normally there's a long time in between the console launch and the PC launch. And this is the first time that I can recall of a main game, not a DLC, that has launched at the same time on consoles and computer. So what does this all mean? What does it matter? Is it going to launch and be the most optimized game out there? No, it won't. I don't think it will. I think it's, you know, the company is still learning how to deal with all that. But did I have fun? I will let you know, I had a blast. It was the only time I felt alive the entire weekend while being sick, and it felt glorious. Even though I'm fighting, you know, things, it's all blurry, it's fuzzy, it's grainy. I wish I could have recorded something so I could show you how bad my graphics were. I could at least make out objects all the time, unlike, you know, all of the PC polygonal graphics. I was having a wonderful time. Even when I was at 15 FPS when fighting Ray Dow, it is something that was just fantastic the entire time. I played dual blades strictly. I didn't try out the heavy bow gun or anything. I just really wanted to just, you know, be in my element that I'm used to. And for me, I got to learn how the dual blades work now, and I feel like they've made some really good changes to make it feel more exciting as how to play, instead of you get this arbitrary meter that goes up and it makes it so that your non-demon mode does different things. Now it's, hey, while in demon mode, you can do demon mode abilities, and that allows you to do the blade flurry dance and everything, and it just feels interesting. A lot of the decisions that they've made, you know, a lot of the mounting mechanic was fairly different from what I could tell. Yes, you still knock down the monster, but it's not knocking it down forever. You're knocking it down for just a few seconds, until you realized what they did. They added the wounding system. You can wound monster parts, and when you have a wounded thing, they said, hey, you can use I forget what it's called exactly, but the focus mechanic. You can focus and it will show you the wounded body parts, and if you hit them with dual blades, you do kind of a upward slow jump attack where you hit and then you launch yourself in the air and do some sort of Attack on Titan blade dance across the monster's spine. And it, from what I've noticed, I don't know if it's true, but I mean, in the small amount of testing I did, it seemed like if monsters had multiple parts that were wounded when you did these sort of abilities and you damaged multiple wounds at the same time, it would knock down the monster almost every time. So even though you're going on them, creating a bunch of wounds, and then they fall down, and you don't get that satisfying like moment where you get to really beat up on the monster after it's been, you know, tossing you around like a rag doll. You know, it was like, oh, I guess it doesn't do it. But that's not how it works. You go in, you do the focus mode, you hit, and you hit a bunch of wounds, do tons of damage, and then you just get to enjoy your time now getting to beat up on a monster. So what were some of the things that impressed me? Being able to have, you know, 100 players in a lobby, basically at the main base, just being able to see each other, you know, showcase each other without really having to join. Like, it seems like this thing that you can just join a random lobby, see who's there, and, you know, see who's at camp, see what people are trying to do. It really is adding this element to Monster Hunter that is reminiscent of sort of MMO style. It allows you to really make yourself feel unique in an area of the game that is just, you know, a place to just hang out. And being how, you know, cooperative the game can feel at times, and, you know, you can join each other in some jolly cooperation, it's really a breath of fresh air without feeling like you have to interact with people. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to see anybody. You go on your hunt and you say, I'm getting the heck out of here. It feels nice, though. that you have options in the game. It can be played completely offline, or you can play it with, a bunch of people just being around, and maybe you get something that's unique and showcase your gear. You can just hang out with the people there. I'm certain it will be something that, even though I'm not very much a social person, I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna like it. And some of the other mechanics in the game, because I only played with a group of friends, only with 3 other friends, a normal party. You can just be in a normal party and not have to worry about being with all those people, because again, my computer wasn't able to handle it. It was having a very, very rough time. But I digress. How are some of the things about the actual gameplay of the game? How do you feel? How do I feel about monsters? How do I feel about this? Starting with the Chotacabra, I think that is a wonderful starter fight in the game. If that is meant to be one of these starter fights in the game, it will be one that is it was very simple, very silly, very goofy. A monster that licks the ground and rocks to their hands. It was, once the 2 of my brother's friends got more used to the game, it was just a fun fight to go and see sometimes, and just be like, this guy, he's a silly little guy, and I'm willing to go to him a lot too, because he's just a silly little guy and just seems to be a perfect starter monster. I always felt like when you have a monster, you want to introduce things slowly. Don't introduce something, for instance, to cut off the tail right on the first monster like the Jagras did. And it felt like the Jagras, when you first learned to fight it, I obviously have a lot more hours in Monster Hunter now, but when you first fight the Jagras, I feel like I remember struggling a good bit, and this didn't feel like a struggle. It felt like a fair monster. It felt like I could dodge attacks easily. It wasn't big and bulky like the Jagras was. The Doshiguma was a very interesting fight too. Typically something would come around and, we'd have to shoot one of our dung pods at it and get rid of all the other small ones so we can fight the big one. And it was a fairly difficult fight, but also rewarding. It's another fight that's just like every other one, but it's the first bigger, beefier style of monster, and just a more classic Monster Hunter style monster, more of a brutish type of wyvern. If he's a wyvern, I don't remember his classification, to be honest, but he was more of a bigger, beefier character and didn't really ever feel too challenging even still. And I'm certain that there will be a higher tier difficulty, low rank. We're in low rank at the start, and then we'll move up to high rank, and that's when it really begins a little bit more challenging. And speaking, even though many of the first 2 monsters, the Chotacabra and the Doshiguma, it was nothing really mechanically new or interesting. Now, the Balahara had some interesting mechanics. Not only did it have mechanics where it would go on the ground and then come up and attack you and do stuff like that. That was a typical thing that would happen very often from time to time. But that's something other games have. You have the Gerontodus, who will dive under the water and try to lunge up at you from the water. So that's nothing unique or new. However, he goes into the ground sometimes, and then he starts a sand whirlpool that drags you towards the center, where he will begin diving at you. Like, we're talking, you're in the middle of a map, he creates this whirlpool, he creates a hole in the map, essentially, and it blew my mind when I saw that they had the ability and thought about doing this sort of thing. It makes me wonder what other fantastic mechanics that they decided to implement for the game. It's really just makes me so much more excited. That was one of my favorite hunts, just because it was not so much more, it was mechanically very different than most monsters I've ever fought, but also like the technicalities of how they did it just fascinated me. And Ray Dow, while Jeez, what can I even say about this fight? It was a fantastical fight that really was the first fight that gives you that sort of music that makes you feel like you're a monster hunter. Everything was kind of generic-y for the most part for the music, and then Ray Dow comes in, and it's just a fantastical work of, it makes you feel like you're flowing in this battle against this monster. And it was fairly easy to fight and defeat, but first time we tried it, all 3 of us died at the same time. Well, 3 out of the 4 of us, because 1 was already dead, died to one of its big attacks, because we didn't know. But it was a very manageable fight, and it was very well done, and really, it just has me excited for the rest of the game, to see what comes out, to see what's happening. It's really just this fantastic way that the game has been made currently. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. You know, obviously, we'll have to see how big the roster gets, to see how much we can really see the fantastic ways that this game is going to innovate through the Monster Hunter series. And really, I mean, even with the spider and the Kraken type boss that are going to be coming out, I think they're definitely doing a lot of unique things here that are going to make the game super wonderful and exciting to play when it comes out in February. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. I'm sorry it took so long to talk about my thoughts, but I was really busy last week. I was recovering from a cold, trying to catch up on a bunch of different things. So it really has been just a challenge to get back to even this point where I'm like, all right, cool, I got time, I can work on a video. So things and updates, I would say try to be on, Twitter. I'll try to do community posts of certain things when I come up with new ideas. I think I'll try to have the next video be a little bit quicker because I'm trying to get ready to stream. I'm going to try streaming again this Saturday if I have time. Tentatively Saturdays I'm gonna try to. I'll try to put out a message earlier before 10 a.m. EST to really showcase whether or not I'm going to be able to do it. I'm probably going to go into doing Monster Hunter Worlds for now, and I definitely don't know if I'll stream it exactly, but I'm 100% playing League's Raging Echoes that comes out later this month. I'm going to look at the date right now. What is it? It comes out on November 27th. So maybe I'll stream that. I don't know. I do want to try streaming a bit. I do want to try talking about RuneScape a bit because I feel like we're not going to get too much news for Wilds for a while. So it'll be a few discussions about Monster Hunter, specifically World, Wilds, Rise, or just talking about RuneScape for a bit because I have so many tangents to talk about RuneScape. There's been small hints about me wanting to talk about RuneScape, so I want to a little bit try to dive into that. It's all tentative. I'll try. If I end up streaming, I will definitely make a community post, but anyways, I guess I've rambled long enough for this outro, and so anyways, if you enjoyed it, let me know. If you didn't enjoy it, let me know. Hopefully, you enjoy Monster Hunter Wilds as much as I do when the game comes out in February. So, thanks for watching the video, and have a good day. Thank you.